All right, brother. Well, we're in here together. What's been
Yeah,
going
let's get rolling.
on?
Not much, just playing with the settings. I probably shouldn't have played
I
with them
still
before we got started, but
I still can't figure out. I'm on my laptop, but I downloaded the app,
yeah.
and I still
Okay.
can't get backgrounds to work. So
Okay. Well, I have a background today, so
so
I was just playing with it real quick.
I
Um,
was I saw today, bud. The NASCAR schedule came out today. Is that right?
I haven't seen it yet. Let me plug this in, plug my laptop in, and I can pull it up because I actually have internet at the house now, so I can
Cool.
run. So I can use my phone as a camera and use my laptop, which I think is probably dead. Because I was using it
Absolute.
on election night.
How's it going, Lou?
I got it all set up. I had a little trouble getting it. I had to update everything. All right, that's how it's gonna work.
Hey Lou, how you doing tonight, buddy?
All right. Oh, there we go. Live from outer space.
Indeed,
How's the air up there?
it's a little cold.
He's broadcasting
How are
live
you,
from
Mark?
Mars. He's broadcasting from Mars.
I was gonna
So,
say, is
it's
it Mars,
from-
Jupiter, where?
It's the ISS, the spacewalk.
How's the air up there?
It's a little cold.
Yeah.
It's actually neither hot nor cold. There is no air up here, so
I can do a course of space oddity if you want. No.
yes. Ground control to Major Tom.
That's a good song too.
Yeah, it
Wow.
is. Uh,
You
As
should
soon
replace
as
it from a piano. Go kill you.
yeah. I need to learn how to play that one. I don't know. That's what I haven't looked at.
Like I said,
I
I
do it.
saw that the schedule came out today.
Yeah,
Or
NASCAR
NASCAR.
schedule came
oh
out
yeah.
today for this upcoming year.
Yeah, I know they're gonna go to Mexico at some point. They're gonna run. I think that's the date that used to be the first Richmond race.
Right.
And but did they get rid of racing at Homestead? I didn't see Homestead on the schedule.
I have I I think it got moved to the playoffs. I think it's in
Okay.
the playoffs.
Okay.
But they had to move the schedule around this year because of the
Right.
Olympic break.
Oh,
So
okay.
so things were a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
different because they wanted to keep Memorial Day weekend. They wanted to leave that
Course.
open. They wanted to leave that for um, Darlington. They wanted to run Darlington on Memorial Day weekend. So Darlington moved
Yeah.
up a race. Darlington moved up a week, and Atlanta was the first race of the playoffs because of the All-Star or because of the Olympic break. So this year it resets back to
Yes.
Darlington being the first race of the year or the first race of the playoffs.
Yeah, back to normal.
Yeah. They're not going back to LA this year. They're going to Bowman Gray Stadium for the shootout.
Is that the one but before Daytona?
Yeah, that's the weekend, 2 weekends before Daytona this year, I think. If this laptop wasn't so freaking slow.
I think they race in Daytona twice as they normally do, and I think they're in Talladega twice this year too. And correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yep. They run 2 races at Talladega. Talladega, I think, is a cutoff race this year, if I remember right. But I hadn't seen this. The schedule had dropped, so I hadn't looked at that yet. And of course, it's not loading because it's 4 years old and probably needs to be replaced, or 5 years old. I just don't feel like spending $600 on a new laptop. somebody wants to send me $600 for a new laptop, I wouldn't turn it down. And they'll have my undying gratitude and a shout out on the show every week.
I peeked at it, Bud, this afternoon when I was at lunch. I'm like, oh,
yeah, I got you.
So I figured I would talk.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, I just wish I could. I wish I had more. I could talk. I would be more than willing to talk about it, but I just don't know the ins and outs of it, and without being able.
No worries.
If I can, I might be able to do. Oh, well, snap! I can do that. Okay. And you guys can still see and hear me?
Yes.
I'm clear. Sure.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Cool. Because while the laptop loads up and it's in there, I can let them know. Yes. There we go.
You guys looking forward to the boxing match tomorrow? I'm gonna skip my high
school tomorrow night.
My high school playoff game and stay home and watch the fight.
I'm taking bets right now. How long do you think it's gonna last? Yeah, I'm taking bets right now.
Who do you got to win?
Jake Paul, first round.
Jake Paul in round 1. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be. I'm not sure. I'm gonna say Paul in 8 or 4. I mean,
8?
Sorry, I'm looking at 4. Paul in 4. I think Tyson starts fast, but by the end of, but I think he'll be gassed. I think the thing about it is that so Sonoma, Chicago, Atlanta. So I was able to pull up the schedule. June 8th. Okay.
I mean, for nothing, he's 120 years old in boxing years. So
yeah, no, definitely. Honestly, I don't really think it matters how it goes.
No.
Because I think, okay, so Talladega moved it around at 8. Gotcha. And then Charlotte's cutoff race in the round of 12. Oh, you wanted to know if Homestead was here when
I didn't see it, Bud.
There it is. Yep, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's week 6.
Okay.
After the West Coast. So we had Daytona in week 1, Atlanta week 2. Then we go to the Circuit of the Americas. Phoenix is week 4. Vegas, and then Homestead is in week 5. Or 6, sorry. Then Bristol, then Texas, and then the All-Star race is at North Wilkesboro again. And then Mexico is week 16. The final race of the regular season is back in Daytona, which is good. And then Darlington kicks off the playoffs and we go to Worldwide Raceway, Bristol, New Hampshire, Kansas, Charlotte, Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, and we close it out in Phoenix on November 2nd.
Oh, what a goal! Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Who's playing?
I'm watching the Lightning and the Jets. Jets only lost 1 game this year so far, and they're down 2-0 to the Lightning at home. So
there you go.
Sickening.
I'll be at the Lightning game the day before Thanksgiving to watch them play the Capitals.
Very cool.
See Ovi?
Yeah, one last time.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was gonna say, but I think it if it's not this year, it'll be next year. It'll be his last year. I think he tries to break Gretzky's goal record, and I think at that point he goes back to Russia because he always said he wanted to go back to Russia and play in the KHL before he retired. So
yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
we'll see how that all works out.
But going back to the Paul Tyson fight, if that actually happens, I really don't think it matters who wins or loses because they'll say it's rigged no matter what.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If Tyson goes out there and beats his, short of a Tyson just going out there and knocking him 6 ways to Sunday, if it's anything like his early fights, people will say, "Oh, it's rigged. Tyson was paid to take a dive," or Tyson didn't hit him hard, and so I really don't think it matters how it ends up because it's a novelty fight, and it's frustrating to me as a boxing fan, these novelty fights that he takes, and and part of me is like, well, yeah,
Mhm.
you take the fight that's there, you make the fight that's there to be made, and then the other part of me is like, when he actually gets in against a competent boxer, he gets his ass beat, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, the thing about it is that boxing is just such a tough sport to get into and do because of the head trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when you're a name like Jake Paul, you don't want to take a half a dozen crummy fights a year for 25 grand.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got hundreds of millions of dollars backing you and a big time promotion, and you want to make an impact in the sport, having to pay your dues, as it were, and because it doesn't really, and it doesn't do him any good. If he goes down, if he goes out and he gets, a dozen fights with jobbers, guys that were never gonna beat anything, and he beats them, then people go, well, it's not worth a fight. Oh, they're just jobbers. They're just, hacks that have been paid. So, like, you can't win for losing if you're Jake Paul.
No.
And you lose for winning. If you go out there and you beat up on a whole bunch of nobodies, then you're a jerk.
Yes, you are.
And I see, like, my thing is like, if these middle of the road boxers want to call Jake Paul out, then get out there and call Jake Paul out. But I don't hear about Jake Paul's calling people out left, right, and center, big names. And the problem is that he doesn't fight. He fights at cruiserweight, and that's not a premier, weight class. He doesn't fight at heavyweight, and he doesn't fight in any other lower. He fights at cruiserweight, so anybody would have to fight him at catchweight. And
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
And for the boxing world, they've got to have stars, and there's no one in the middle there's no names that are taking him on, that are willing to call him out and be like, all right, you want to fight, let's have a fight. But he knows he can call out Tyson, and Tyson will take the fight. So I mean,
I think it's going to be entertaining. I don't know how many rounds it's going to go, but like you said, but I agree. I think what's going to happen, no matter who wins, whether Tyson wins, and they'll say, okay, Paul is washed up. He called out too many people. And then if Paul wins, it'll be, oh, well, he paid Tyson to take a fall or whatever it might be. I mean, I just hope it's entertaining because, if you think back to Mayweather, Conor McGregor, that really wasn't
Yeah.
entertaining. That was just, I mean, it was, what do they call that? Like an over speculated sparring session or whatever they called that fight,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
McGregor can't use his legs like he does in MMA. And, so he's, I mean, McGregor's not really a boxer, is he? I don't think he's known for his boxing.
No, he wasn't known
No,
as a
he's not.
striker.
Yeah, he's a striker. And
No, he
so
wasn't a striker.
he wasn't a striker. I'm sorry. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So like when you have something like that, at least this time around, and I mean, I know Jake Paul's had some questionable opponents that were boxers or up and coming boxers or whatever. This is the first real boxer he's going to get in the ring with. Now, fortunately, Tyson is way past his prime age, and it's a different story. But I hope it's,
Yeah.
like I said, I hope it's entertaining. The high school that I call announce for, they're on the road tomorrow night, and
Mm.
I really don't want to drive an hour to Bradenton and back. So I'm gonna kind of grab a pizza and turn Netflix on and watch the Bucks.
Oh, is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's a Netflix fight.
Yes.
Yep.
Gotcha. I might stop by Buffalo Wild Wings after work tomorrow and see if I can catch the end of it.
What?
But
It starts at 8 o'clock, but correct me. I think I heard Jake Paul say that there was a pre-fight before their fight. So I got to
Oh,
figure
there
sure.
should, yeah,
their fight probably won't start till what, 10ish? I'm gonna guess
10:30.
10:30 ish. Okay,
Something like that.
yeah, I figured that.
As soon as I can get this stupid thing to load, I'll look up the fight card.
Yeah, I think, but from what I heard and what I read, that there's a prelim fight before Tyson Paul.
There
So,
should
Yes.
usually, there should be a full card. There should be 2 or 3 or 4 fights beforehand. As soon as I can get this loaded up, I will look it up.
let me see.
Yes.
Let's see.
Kind of unusual
Usually
for
there.
Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Fight card.
Friday night.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I can't imagine that was a
Oh, I'm
as
sorry.
big of
You're
a.
right. You are correct, bud. Let me correct that. You have the Paul Tyson fight is the main event. Before that, you
Right.
have
Yeah.
in the junior welterweight title in women's boxing, you have Katie Taylor, who's the champion, versus Amanda Serrano. Before that, there's a welterweight title match between Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. There's a middleweight fight, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce those last names. Goya versus Nunez. And then there's for the vacant WBO super middleweight title, you have Shadasta Green versus Melinda Wappel. That's women's boxing. And there's Lucas Body versus Armando Casamonica. That's a lightweight fight. And the first fight is Bruce Carrington versus Dana Coolwell, featherweight fight.
Okay.
So yeah, the main card
It's a full
starts
fight card.
at 8 p.m. So I'm wondering if some of those fights are pre-fight or pre-card.
Yes, probably.
The prelims probably start at 6, and then you'll have 2 or 3 fights before. You probably have 2 fights before the main fight card starts. Then you'll have a couple of fights on the main card, and then Paul and Tyson will go.
I'll make sure that I try to get as much. Maybe I'll come home and take a nap tomorrow
There you go.
afternoon so I can
Yeah.
stay awake. Yeah, I could do that tomorrow.
Get your monster on your way home.
You know what? But I drink the what is it? The Aussie Punch. That's my favorite monster.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
I don't
I'm
like
a
to
green
drink-
monster.
I don't like to drink them very often, but if I'm tired at work, I slap one back because it helps me.
Yeah. But just to finish out on the Paul Tyson fight before we can move on to other things. I just don't think it really matters how the fight goes, because especially if Tyson wins later on, then it doesn't look good for Jake. And even if Jake goes the distance and Tyson wins on points, then it really doesn't. Oh, it really doesn't help anybody. This fight is it's a gimmick. It's a joke fight, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really help anyone because if Jake looks good, they're gonna be like, oh, well, obviously Tyson's old or whatever, and if Tyson goes out there and knocks him silly, then then Jake doesn't have it, and so I really think that I really don't think it matters who wins or loses because I think it'll end up just being because that's what they said about every Jake Paul fight is though he's not a real boxer, and even and I think short of a clear cut, if Tyson knocks him down, I'm trying to figure out ways that Paul could come out looking good. Is if he gets knocked down 2 or 3 times in the fight, convincingly gets knocked down and gets back up. That could have, and he can win or draw, and that might help. But if he goes in there and just beats up an old man, I really don't see how that helps him in his career as a boxer.
Do you think, Bud, that you said that it was it's not a real fight? Do you think that it's good for boxing or it's bad that they're having these fights? Because it seems like there's no one else drawing. I mean, again, when you talk UFC, you've got a lot of champions and up and coming fighters, and UFC's fighting. They fought in the Sphere in Vegas, which if you ever get a chance to go out to Vegas, the Sphere is pretty damn cool because you can see it anywhere in the city. If you're on the Strip, you can see it. It's pretty cool. I didn't get a chance to go inside. It's like $150 to go inside the damn thing. But anyway, UFC again. We know that UFC surpassed boxing a long time ago as far as popularity in the sports world. So I'm just wondering, but because I'm a semi-boxing fan myself, and like I said, I am going to stay home tomorrow night because I'm tired. I don't want to drive to.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for driving.
I'm gonna stay home and watch it. And actually, the last boxing match that I can remember watching, I think, was the Fury.
Fury Wilder 3.
Yeah, no, I think it was the second one. Which is the one that Fury won?
He won all 3. Well, they drew in the first one, then he won the last 2.
Yeah, I watched the second one. Is the one that I saw. That was the last boxing match I saw. So this will be the, and I went to somebody's house to watch the McGregor Mayweather fight. So
yeah.
So yeah, I'll be home watching it, but as long as it's entertaining, that's all I care about. I don't really care who wins. It's just entertaining, and the Paul brothers they draw their own. One's in boxing, one's in the WWE.
Yeah. But is it good for boxing? They're so far down that any press is good press as long as they spell your name right.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't. I don't know. Again, like I said, I really I don't think it's bad for boxing, but I don't know if it's good for Jake Paul or Mike Tyson.
Gotcha.
And obviously I haven't seen the fight. And we'll have to see how the fight shakes out tomorrow night. But honestly, I just don't know what it's gonna be like. I mean, it's good for Netflix because they can get they want to start getting into live programming. They're gonna have the WWE next year, starting next year.
Raw. Yep.
And so Tyson got sick earlier in the year. That's why I had to push it back.
I think he had an ulcer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's
what I read earlier, that it was an ulcer.
Yeah, that's what I just saw. Yep, he had a stomach ulcer. It's at Jerry World, so it's not like it's in some club.
Yeah, no, it's a big venue. I mean,
I wanted to see the tail of the tape, but my poor computer is so slow these days.
So, guys, we haven't been on in a couple weeks. What was your take on the World Series at the end of the day?
It was an ass whooping.
Yeah.
One that
I thought maybe
Louis doesn't want to talk about.
I thought maybe when they won game 4, I thought maybe that might have been a momentum change because they were pounding the Dodgers in game 4, trying to be a rout. And then when they got back-to-back home runs early, I thought, okay, now we're making this into a series. And then the inning from hell came along, and that was the end of that.
The 5th inning in game 5.
Yes, the inning from hell.
Real quick, guys, something just popped up on my phone. It looks Mike Tyson slapped Jake Paul during their press conference.
I just saw that.
Just came up on my phone. So
I just pulled up the USA Today and saw the photo. So
there'll be a little hostility between the two of them. Getting a little chippy.
Yeah. Already starting.
Honestly. Yeah, I just saw I didn't see a clip or anything. I just saw the picture. But yeah, he slapped him full on in the mouth.
I think Lou too. I think what happened in game 1 when Freeman hit the grand slam in extras, I think really kind of set the tone for the rest of the series. I think if he had just popped out and the Yankees got out of that and they ended up winning game 1, I think it would have been a little bit different. But when he hit that grand slam in extras, it was like, oh boy. It was like, whoop, it's it. And speaking of the Yankees, because of the hurricanes in my area, the Rays are going to be playing at Steinbrenner Field, where the Yankees do their spring training, and they have their A affiliate, the Tampa Tarpons. They paid the Yankees $15 million. Somebody did. Wasn't the Rays.
Yep.
Somebody paid them $15 million
for them. I think it was.
There. So
yeah, I saw that. I was going to mention that. They're going to play at
Tropicana Field won't be open for 2 years. It's going to cost the team $55 million to get that roof fixed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Why even bother?
Brother, I agree with you on that. You've got a new stadium. Why not just tear it down? Why not tear it down and build the new one, and then in 2 years you can open up the new stadium? I don't get that either. That's the same feeling I had when they said that.
Haven't they already broke ground on the new stadium?
They have not. They were supposed to this month. Just later this month they were supposed to. USF, they broke ground on their on-campus football stadium last Friday. But the Rays have not yet done it yet. I don't know if that's going to be postponed now with the Trop being the way that it is, or
to me, I would just move everything up. I would just cancel. I wouldn't even bother fixing the Trop. I would just gut it, close it down, and leave it, and get the other stadium going, and just do because they were going to have to move out of the Trop anyway.
Yeah.
And if it's gonna take a year, if they're not going to be able to have the Trop ready until 2026.
Yeah.
So you spend $55 million to get the Trop fixed, just to move out of it in 2026.
Yeah, I think the new stadium was not supposed to open until 2028. So I guess they will play 2 more years at the Trop before it. Well, I would say 1 year, because I guess what they're going to do, according to what I've read and saw online, they're going to build the new stadium in the parking lot of the old stadium. So sooner or later, they'll knock the Trop down, and then they'll put parking there where it sits or whatever. So
yeah, and see, I would just knock the Trop down now and move it up to 2027. Accelerate the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the stadium's having to pay a little bit more on the front end of this thing to get everything moved up and to buy the licensing and do all the contract work and whatever that's going to take, because it seems to me it doesn't make any sense to take the $55 million. To me, it would make more sense to take the $55 million that you were going to have to use to repair the Trop and invest that in accelerating the timeline so that the new stadium can be ready for 2027.
Well, and the city of St. Pete's paying the $55 million, not the Rays, because the Rays are technically the tenant. The city is the landlord, if you want to look at it like
right.
How you want to look at it like that.
And if I'm the city of Pitts, if I'm a resident of St. Pete, I would much rather have that $55 million go into investing in the new stadium, because regardless of how that's going to work out, you're going to have to spend that money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why waste that? Why spend $55 million to get the old stadium repaired? I could understand if it was going to be like $5 million to get the old stadium fixed up and have it be ready for July of next year. Okay, sure, we could do that, because but I just don't see the revenue. The stadium's not going to generate, if they have 2026, 2027, I just don't see the stadium generating. You would need to generate $30 million on top of your current revenue to make up the cost difference. And so that you're in.
Well, they're going to lose revenue the next 2 years too, because you're going to a stadium that only seats 11,000 people, and they averaged 17,000 last year. So you're losing 6,000 people, and that's tickets, parking, souvenirs, and food. So that's all going bye-bye. So you're right, but I agree. To me, I would think you put the $55 million in, tear the stadium down, let them play at Steinbrenner Field the next 2 years, and open the stadium opening day, was it March or April of 2027, and have the new stadium set. Because now what's happened is, because the roof is off, the outdoor elements are in the stadium. So there's no drainage, because that stadium is a dome. There's no drainage on the field. So if it rains, and it hasn't rained too hard since the hurricane, but if it rains at all, the water sits and it's going to smell and it's nasty. But
and you're going to have, because that, and we haven't, I don't know if that how long is it going to take for them to get a skeleton where they can put like tarps over it, so that they can prevent any kind of, because you have to tear it all down, right? And so like, and I'm no structural engineer or anything, so bear with me, and feel free to correct me in the comment sections if I'm wrong. But you have to take the skeleton, you have to take everything out of there. Then you have to go in, make sure that it's structurally sound, so that you can put a new roof on it. And what happens if there's another big one out in the Atlantic right now, barreling this way? What happens if that son of a bitch hits, and now you've got 3.5 feet of water sitting in there, and it sits there for 2.5?
There's a multi-million-dollar question right there. That's a multi-million-dollar question right there. Yeah.
And my other concern, like you said, it's gonna any water in there, you're gonna have to go in. If you get it's South Florida in November, it could rain at any moment. And if you get a quarter of an inch in 3 hours, now you got to go send a team in there. Okay, let's say it starts raining at 3 a.m. and it doesn't stop until 6, and you've got a quarter inch of water in there, and now you've got to spend all that money to send a team in there. You got to call Surf Pro, and they got to get a team in there, get all that water out before it sits and ruins anything else that hasn't already been ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I really think it's a waste of time and money, because unless they can demonstrate that they can get the roof fixed by opening day 2026. Okay, roof is fixed by opening without having to do anything else to the stadium. Because any water collect, because he said it doesn't have runoff, it doesn't have runoff,
Nope.
it doesn't drain. It's
Nope.
not designed to drain because because when they build it as a dome. So I'm not faulting, I'm not saying that they did anything wrong. I'm not faulting them for that, because when it's compromise. You have to make compromises when you're doing engineering. And so one of the compromises you make is, especially, 30 years ago when you were building it as a dome, you weren't building it to drain because it's a dome. So it's not like somebody should have foreseen a hurricane ripping the roof off. I mean, you got a huge Cat 3 storm that came through. It's a trade-off. If you build it to withstand a Cat 3, you get Cat 4. If you build it to stand a Cat 4, you get a Cat 5. It doesn't really matter,
Well, again, too, the roof was supposed to sustain a Cat 5 hurricane, other than the roof has aged. That was back when it was first built. It was first built for the Lightning. It was the Thunderdome.
Right.
When the Lightning played in St. Pete,
Thunderdome.
where they moved to the Ice Palace, which is now called Amalie Arena, whatever you want to call it. But at first, it was called the Ice Palace when they opened it up in Tampa on Channel Side. But anyway, the roof aged. I mean, in the heat and elements in Florida, being that I lived here all my life, I can tell you, once we turn the calendar to May and June, the heat goes up, the sun comes out, and now again, you're talking about playing outside at Steinbrenner Field. So now what you're going to do now is you're going to run into heat, because June, July, August, and September September is the hottest month of the year here in Florida. So they're going to have 4 months of heat and rain. And they said today on the radio that they average 6 rainouts, or 6 rainouts every year in the Independent League, which is what the Dolphins play in. The A team that plays the A affiliate of the Yankees. They said that they average 6 rainouts a year. So again, they wanted outdoor baseball in Tampa. Well, you're gonna get outdoor baseball for the next 2 seasons. So
or at least the next season.
Yeah. I as far as I know, Bud, the roof at Tropicana Field, other than the covering, the structure part is fine. There's no damage to the structure. Now, the outside structure, yes, there is panels that have been damaged from the storm. So that they'll have to fix that. I think that's part of the $55 million is.
Yeah.
But again, you're going to have to replace the turf. You're going to have to replace seats that have been damaged by the outdoors,
falling
debris. So yeah, they're gonna. No, you can't have that. My dog is. This is my roommate.
Right.
She's a big Friends fan, and she's trying to keep this away from her. Well, she thinks it's a game. You can't have this. Here, I want to put it back here. I gotta
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So as far as I know, Bud, there's no. Again, I'm just like you. I'm not an engineer. I don't know, but there's no structural damage to the rings of Tropicana Field. And I know the new stadium is not going to have the same structure as the old one is. So they're not going to build the rings and have the whole, the whole problem with the rings.
What, we get a comment? We get a comment from the peanut gallery about this whole thing?
With the rings, they're not. Oh crap! Hang on a minute, guys. Hang on a second.
Yeah, you're good. No, I just think that I just don't know about it, because at the end of the day, if it's going to cost $55 million to do the repairs for 2 years, I just don't know how much is it going to generate enough revenue to. I mean, you would think that they would do the math, and you'd think they paid the math budget, but at a certain point, you just got to cut your losses and just deal with the fact that you're gonna have loss. At a certain point, you're gonna have to eat a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree.
What I think the biggest thing for me is, like, if there's any, when we get, let's say they're on track, right, in July of next year, what are they going to do if they have another hurricane barreling through the city?
Yeah.
You're 100% right. You're not guaranteed you're not going to have one in the next 2 years that's even as strong or stronger than the one that went through there.
And not only that, but now you have now the structure is compromised. So it doesn't take. It could be a weaker storm that does more damage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If I can spell drop, I can.
I figured if you guys wanted to, we can do like we did in the old days, and like the first hour talk about miscellaneous things, and then bust into college and NFL.
Yeah, no, that's good. I miss the old format.
Well, and right here, this is the OG cast right here. Like, this is the OG cast.
This is the
three of us were the ones who, after I was solo, and then after I went being not solo, this was the OG. And not that I don't want to have Gerald back and Alex back, but it's cool to have the OGs back too.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no. Alex said he wasn't feeling good today, so he was hoping to get back next week.
I texted Joe. I know he's moved, and I think somebody, weren't you the one, buddy, that told me that he like dropped off social media because Texas lost a football game or something?
Yeah.
Somebody told
I just heard from him. Yeah, I just heard from him about an hour ago.
Okay.
He asked me how I was doing, but I don't have time to text him back right now. I'm a little busy.
Well, I texted him the information that I sent you guys, so I'm still trying to figure out how to get back on Facebook. I apologize that I'm not back on there yet. I need a tech guy to be able to hack my Facebook account so I can get back in there. So
I wish you weren't so far away. I'd come over and help you.
Same here.
But yeah, I haven't been in my Facebook account since the 19th or the 20th of October. It's almost been a month. So, I mean, yes, I could start a brand new one, but then I got to go back and refriend everybody and rejoin all those groups again. And, sometimes they're like, we're not taking new members now. We don't know who you are, So I just want to get my own account back.
Okay, so it doesn't look like they've agreed to anything yet.
Okay.
I'm reading Tampa Bay Times, and it doesn't look like they've actually agreed. That was just a cost estimate of 55.7, 56 million.
Right.
It doesn't look like anything's been agreed to yet.
And there's also a vote, buddy, for the stadium bonds. The Pinellas Sports Authority is voting on that. I want to say next week, because again, Thanksgiving is a couple weeks away, but I think they're going to. And one of the guys came out today and said that because they're playing in Tampa and not staying, because they could have played at Baycare Park where the Phillies minor league team, the Threshers, play. The only issue is that stadium only seats 8,000 people, and you also have the AAC, the American Athletic Conference Championship, there every year. The baseball tournament is there every year. That's where they play their tournament. So they would have to
Yeah.
reschedule around that. The only thing that I'm kind of concerned about them playing in Tampa is when you get to August and football starts, who's going to get the parking? Because the Bucks
Yeah.
play at Raymond James Stadium, and so do the Bulls. So how are you going to
Mhm.
determine who gets parking privileges? Because once you roll the college football season around after week 0 or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
Steinbrenner Field is literally, you could throw a rock at it from where Raymond James is at. So they're that close. So I don't know how they're going to determine how the Tampa Bay Sports Authority, which is they're the ones who bring in all the Super Bowl and all that in. They got a great
Mhm.
crew there that brings all that stuff here. They got the women's Final Four coming back to Amalie Arena later this year, or next year. I mean, um, and we had the Frozen Four here, which sucks that I didn't get a chance. That's one of the Amalie Arena is
Yeah.
the only press box I haven't been in locally, so I'm trying to get
Mm.
in there. But
Okay.
Right on.
anyway, yeah. So I'm curious how they're going to determine who gets privileges on parking. Are they going to limit so many
Do you
people
think?
for Rays, so many people for the Bucks
Oh,
or USF?
Well,
You know,
no. I have a simple solution.
go ahead.
yes.
You move the scheduling so that you could do one of two things. You could have the Bucks, one or the other, playing away, so that you don't have any those conflicts.
That's
You
true.
could
You only have
have
You're right, because you only have 8 home games. You're right. So those 8 games on those Sundays, the rate, or well, not
the
so much
race.
Sundays because you might have a Monday or a Thursday too, but normally Sundays.
Right.
Yeah.
You have the
Normally
Rays
Sunday. Well,
out of town during those 8 weeks
or
or whatever.
and if they're playing if they're playing on Monday and Thursday, they have a Monday or Thursday game. You could have the Rays in the afternoon. You could
Yes.
have the Rays. You could do a double header. You could have the Rays playing at 4, and then hey, after the Rays game, just go over to the Bucks. Keeping everybody in the downtown area.
That's
You could
probably
also have
why I think, Bud, they wanted to play at Steinbrenner Field because they figured that they were going to do that, where you would go to 1, say the Rays play at 1, and they have a 4 o'clock kickoff for the Bucks. You could get out of the stadium, walk to Raymond James, and go see a football game. So you're right there,
yeah,
like you
or you
said,
could have
stay in
yeah
downtown. Hmm.
yeah because you could reschedule some of those Sunday games and move them to move it. You could play double headers on Saturday. You could play, you could have an afternoon Saturday and an evening Saturday game, so that you don't have to try and compete with the Bucks on a Sunday. You could have them. You could have those games. Those Tampa Bay schedule may be very road heavy in the early part of the season. The Bucks could play a lot of road games in September. They could have 3 or 4 or 5 straight road games in September, and then play a heavy in October, and the rest of the way have 4 or 5 home games. So there's ways to get around it. There's ways to make it work without having to uproot everybody's family and you know
Yeah,
all that.
because I'm curious. I was just
Mhm.
curious when they announced it today that that's where they were going to play, and I'm like, well, let's see if you have on a Sunday afternoon, you have a 1 o'clock first pitch for the Rays and a 1 o'clock kickoff for the Bucks. That's a lot of
Mhm.
traffic. There would be a reason not to go to downtown downtown Tampa on a Sunday. Would be that,
Yeah,
and where
but
Exactly.
there's a lot of teams.
well
Well,
you
that's but
well
sorry,
correct me if
sorry.
I'm wrong, Bud. If isn't that way in Detroit? Don't you have all 3 stadiums close to each other?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What I was gonna say, and I stopped myself because I realized that what I was gonna say was kind of wrong. But what I was going to say is that there are a lot of teams that have both baseball and football in September and October. But the thing about those things is that they're designed for that. Like when they built Ford Field and Comerica Park and brought in Little Caesars, they all worked together designing parking lots and parking garages. All of that was part, the city was brought into
Make it easier.
Yeah, it's coordinate. That's what I was looking for.
Or,
Coordinate and facilitate. But the problem is this is all doing they never built that stadium where the Silverfish or whatever they're called play for an MLB crowd competing with an NFL crowd. Like because when does the AFL when does their season generally end? Is it August?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I want to say I think they go to like September, like middle of September.
But probably but not deep into September. So it's not like they have a lot of competing with the NFL for parking and everything.
Let me look that up real quick, bud. Hang on a minute. Let me look that up
Yeah.
to see when, because I can look that up here. Let's see, Tampa Tarpons, because I can look up their schedule from last year
Oh,
and
Right.
see
Oh, you could probably even look up
their
this
last.
year's schedule.
Okay, their last game. Wait a minute. Was in August. Their last game was at home on September 7th. So they go to
Okay, so
like you
that's
said, the start of September is when
but that's the beginning of September.
they I don't know, but too, do they have playoffs in A ball? Like they don't have a
I
World
would
Series
assume they
there.
have
I think they do, yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they do. Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
Come on. Be not stupid already. Clear, thank you. Tampa Bay.
And I mean the Rays have, they got the Dodgers coming in this year. They've got the Pirates coming in with the Paul Skeens, obviously. They've got the Cardinals coming in, Yankees, obviously, Red Sox, obviously.
Yes.
So I mean they've got a pretty, you know, interesting schedule. And the funny thing is it's just gonna be completely different because of where they're gonna be playing ball this year. So
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I clicked news. I wanted to click all. Here we go. Has the 2025? I would assume it has been released. Maybe it hasn't, but I would have thought it would have been released, or it's fixing to drop here any minute now. It's loading. It's loading. But yeah,
MLB season's out already, the 2025. I've already got both the
Yeah.
Red Sox and the Rays schedule already up.
It's still loading. I was looking at the Tarpon schedule to see, that's the other thing is like they're gonna have to work around each other's schedules. It's gonna be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're gonna do that if the Tarpons play there, or where are you gonna put? I mean, the cool thing about the whole complex is there are practice fields that sit in the parking lots at Raymond James Stadium. So, and the other thing about you were talking about staying in downtown, Downdale Neighbory, where Raymond James is and where Steinbrenner Field. I call it Legends Field because that's what I grew up calling it before they renamed it after George Steinbrenner. But I mean, you have restaurants, there's strip clubs, there's all kinds of things to do down Del Neighbory, and I think the Rays wanted to put their stadium in Tampa because there's more revenue. If that
Things.
but they don't have that option because Hillsborough County can't afford to put up, $1.6 billion that Pinellas County can put up. So that's the reason why
Right.
they're moving, staying in St. Pete compared to going
Yeah.
to Tampa. I will say this, if anything, and they mentioned this on the radio this afternoon on my way home, that if they do any kind of like mess around and mess this deal up, don't be surprised if they don't go to Nashville because that's the city that wants a team so bad. And the fact that the
Yes.
Rays, their AAA team is the Durham Bulls, which is also in North Carolina, which means if you wanted to call somebody up, they wouldn't have to go very far. I don't know how far Durham is from Charlotte or from Nashville. I mean, Nashville's in Tennessee. What the hell am I talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I was wondering where you were going with
yeah,
that.
I just thought about that. My bad.
So on.
Nashville's in Tennessee. Durham is in North Carolina. You don't have to go that far between
Yeah.
the two states. But what I'm saying is, if they screw this up, I have a funny feeling they'll move to Nashville, and that would be heartbreaking for all of the Rays fans here
What, all six
in
of
this
them?
area if they lose. Because if they, the hurricane, it would be very interesting if a hurricane ends up ruining the stadium deal and they move out of the state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
That
that's
would
how
be,
that's how the Thunder ended up. That's how the Thunder ended up in Oklahoma.
yeah. Well, from Seattle, right? It was the
Right, because
Supersonics.
because the Pelicans played in OKC for that 1 year when New Orleans was underwater,
Yeah.
and New Orleans had such a great turnout. Or sorry, Oklahoma City had such a great turnout that the Supersonics ended up moving from Seattle to
Seattle.
Oklahoma City, and Seattle hasn't gotten a team back yet.
That'd be
We're
cool
working on it.
if they did. It would be
Yeah,
cool to have them back. Cool to have that
yeah,
franchise back.
this is I don't know. This looks like the 2024 schedule, but it says 2025. But is September 7th?
Okay.
Come on. But no, so I just don't know, because the AAA affiliate. No, that's yeah, you were looking at this year's schedule there, bud.
Yeah. I was just seeing when it ended. What year? What month?
Yeah. You said 2024, so
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about last year's schedule. You're talking about this year's schedule.
Yeah, they ended a couple months ago in September.
Yeah,
When the season.
So their last game next season is Sunday, September 7th.
Okay.
And it's a home set. They got a 1, 2, 3
6-game series, right?
6-game set. Yeah, 6-game
It's
set
Dunedin
with
against
Dundee.
the Blue Jays. The Dunedin Blue Jays. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never
play
been.
all.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like they'd only play 6-game sets. Yeah. Interesting. Probably cuts down on a lot of travel.
And again, I mean, it's it's A ball, and if you think about it, a lot of those kids aren't really going to make it to the majors anyway. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're there, you may get called up to AA or AAA, and unless you're just like an outstanding player who can jump up the rankings, if you're an A ball, most likely that's
your last stop.
Yeah, it's going to be your last stop. But yeah,
unless you skip college and you went right to A ball from high school.
Yeah,
because you're that good.
Different story.
Yep. But yeah, most of your A ball players there are probably going to end up staying in A ball.
All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and look. College football. Actually, there is a game going on as we speak.
Yeah, it's a caution.
Washington and Philly. and the Commanders are up 7-0 in the second quarter.
Oof, that's tough.
Yeah.
I think I took Philly too.
I took some upsets this week. I think I took Pittsburgh. I took New England after they beat Chicago last week. Can't believe that happened.
Man, Chicago's been awful all the last 3
What
weeks.
else is new? What else is new?
Well, I mean,
you guys go ahead.
we can start wherever you want to start. If you want to start with
I was
baseball,
gonna say, you guys want to go back to last week, or you just want to talk about this week's matchups?
we can talk. We could do a bit of both.
Yeah. Why not?
We
Okay,
haven't been here for we've really missed a lot of this. We've been inconsistent. The only consistent thing about us has been inconsistency this last few months. So
Correct. Yeah. Okay, so we can start with number 1. Oregon beat Maryland 39-18, and I think they remain number 1. Ohio State beat Purdue 45-0. I'm not shocked, but Ole Miss beat Georgia 28-10.
Yeah, that's a little. It's a little bit, but it's not. It's surprising, not shocking.
Miami got beat for the first time this season.
That was a shock.
23.
That was a shock.
The Florida Texas game, I knew coming into the season wasn't going to be competitive, and you can see why. Texas won 49-17, and Billy Napier's going to keep his job. So yeah, it is what it is. Penn State won. Tennessee won. Tennessee, I think if I saw the 12th, I think if I saw that correctly, if the playoffs started today, Tennessee would be number 5. They'd be playing number 12 in the country.
Yeah, I think so.
Over the 12,
yeah.
Which I think right now is Boise State. I believe
something like that.
Yeah. Indiana beat Michigan by 5 points. Can we logistically say, does Indiana have a shot in 2 weeks to beat Ohio State, or is it just going to be a blowout?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay.
Because they just barely beat a bad Michigan team, a team they should have handled.
Yeah, what happened to Michigan this year?
It was you had 18 graduate seniors leave, man.
Of course.
Was not. I wasn't expecting good things this year, so we just have to reload and Wink Martindale needs to go. He's just not that blitz on every other down thing.
Well, then maybe go back to being a game show host. Oh, wrong Wink Martindale. Sorry. At least you got it.
That that mentality, that approach just doesn't work in college ball anymore. Yeah. You can't blitz on every.
Yeah, but going from champ to chump in 1 year, I mean that for them, that is pretty surprising.
Well, you mean they have a whole new offensive line that was young, no quarterback. The 1-2 punch of the running game was gone. Well, so many leaders on defense, just young on defense, and Wink Martindale, and that's why we got rid of Bob. Oh God, what's his name now? John Brown, because he couldn't. You can't just blitz on every down.
No, you can't.
College quarterbacks, college offenses are just too talented in the 21st century to be able to just send the house. And the biggest problem is they can't get off on third down.
That tires your defense out real
fast. You can't give up 3 third and longs in a series and hold them to a field goal. And the other, no quarterback, no consistent run game, poor offensive line play, poor play across the board. And when they do, when they make a play, they for every good play they make, they have 3 bad plays. When they're in a game, they can't. The last 3 years, when they've been in a game, they found a way to get it done. And then this year, it's just they're so young. They're not as talented as they've been the last couple of years. Personnel turnover, offensive and defensive coaching wise, they've been more banged up. And I'll take it though. I will sell the next 10 seasons for a Jeff. Don't care. They can't take my memories.
BYU beat Utah. I guess there was
there was controversy at the end of that one.
Yeah. Couldn't be.
Guess you should have scored more points.
Couldn't be any happier with the result of the next game. Notre Dame beat Florida State. I can't be any happier.
Florida State is a joke this year.
The Florida State has only won 1 game. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You guys have a chance. You guys have a chance.
Yes, we do. I think one of the upsets, well, not really an upset, but how well Alabama blew out LSU on the road in Death Valley. But how Alabama has kind of rebounded a little bit. But winning 42-13 on the road.
In Death Valley.
Big. In Death Valley. Yeah.
Can we talk about Bill O'Brien? Not Bill O'Brien. What's his name? The coach at LSU now.
Brian Kelly.
His name is Brian Kelly. He's not a very good coach, is he?
No.
Well, he wasn't. I mean, think of this, guys. He really wasn't a good coach at Notre Dame. I mean,
but he won 9 or 10 games a year at Notre Dame.
True.
He'd always win 9 or 10 games at Notre Dame, and everybody would, and the consensus around the country and in the media was, and we talked about that at the time when he went to LSU. It was like, okay, look out, because the knock on him at Notre Dame was he couldn't get those skill guys that were maybe that weren't academically as gifted as the Notre Dame kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would have to sacrifice some skill because of the academic requirements to go to Notre Dame. So that's why he went. That's why he left to go to LSU. Is now he had an opportunity to recruit those less academically gifted kids who might be a little bit more talented on the football field. And it hasn't translated into wins.
Well, I think they won 9 or 10 last year. Remember, you had what's his name, the quarterback for the Commanders, as your starting quarterback last year,
right? But they've gotten beat by Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee.
Speaking of Georgia, it doesn't get very easier for them this week either. They got Tennessee, and I think they're in Knoxville, if I'm not mistaken. That's not going to be easy because how much it pains me to say this, Tennessee is a good football team. They really are a good football team, and they have a good quarterback, good head coach.
Yeah.
It pains me to say that, but it's when you the writing is on the wall. You gotta.
Facts are facts.
Yeah. Yep.
Facts don't care about your feelings. So.
Nope. Let me see. I think. Hang on. Let me look.
Yeah.
I'm sure that game is here. Let's see. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. They're in Athens. My fault. They're in Athens. They're in Georgia.
Okay, so they're between heads.
It's the 7:30 game on ABC on Saturday night.
Yeah.
The spread, guys, is 9 and a hook. The total is 47 and a hook. So I mean,
is Tennessee the favorite?
Tennessee is Georgia's the favorite
by 9.5.
9.5. Yep.
Take Tennessee the point. Take Tennessee.
I'd take Tennessee and the over. I think Tennessee can. I'll take Tennessee in the over. In my opinion, that's who I would take. That's who I would take. We can start, guys. We have Ohio State is on the road in Northwestern. The Buckeyes are a 28.5-point favorite. The over-under is 43 and a hook. Buckeyes. I can't see Ohio State not beating. And they're not, I know people say, "Oh, this could be a trap game because they're looking at Indiana," but Indiana, it's not Michigan. It's not,
it's not Oregon.
Right. It's not somebody that's going to be that could test them. And I'm not saying it because I just saw my buddy who's a big Indiana Hoosiers fan, grew up there. He's from Indiana.
Right.
And I saw him a couple weeks ago. He was down visiting his mom down here in Florida. And I said, "Hey," I said, he goes, "Oh, I know we already marked on the calendar when we play Ohio State." I'm like, "Well, you know what? Beat them. Upset. Do it, dude.
Yep.
I mean, upset them and shake up the college football world. And if Indiana does somehow pull that off next week and they end up going to Indianapolis to play in the Big Ten championship game, good on them. They can win it and then get into the playoff. It would be cool to see like Indiana and Army.
That'd be fun.
Playoff. That would be badass to see.
That's incredible. That'd be incredible.
The next
Army struggled last week with North Texas, so.
And they have are they playing Notre Dame this week?
Sounds right, yeah.
Is that who Army's got? Hang on, let me look. Well, they're no, because it's not listed on the top 25. Hang on a minute. Let me look real quick, guys. Let me flip this to the American because that is the conference that Army plays in. And they are on top of the American right now. First year in the conference, and they are on top of it. Okay. No. They're okay. So Army must have
off this
week. Do they play Notre Dame next Saturday?
They might play Notre Dame next Saturday. Yeah.
Let's see. In week 13. Let's see if this will show me. Here we go. Week 13.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes. They're in.
Okay.
They're playing at Yankee Stadium.
There you go.
Game's a neutral
site game.
We usually say over the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah, so it's a 7:00 kickoff on NBC.
Oh, okay. Fine. Yeah, because it's Notre Dame.
I'll be at the USF game next week that kicks off at 3:30. So by the time that I get out of the press conference and get in the car to come home, I'll be able to watch the Army. I almost said Army Navy game, Army Notre Dame game.
You watch the game from a couple weeks ahead, huh? You better give me the score. You better give me that. You better give me that betting line then.
This is going to be an entertaining game for sure.
The first, well, what's funny is, that's the first Saturday in December. The funny thing is they play that game, and then the following week, if they play in the American, they play, they could play in the championship game against each other too. The following week,
right?
Yeah. So, it should be interesting. How they play
that all breaks out.
Okay, so let me go back to the top 25. So Texas is on the road in Fayetteville to play Arkansas. The Longhorns are 12-point favorite. The over-under is 57 and a hook. And I guess this is a rival game because I didn't know that Texas and Arkansas were a rivalry, but yes, this is a rival game.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Back in the old SWAC days.
Mm-hmm.
In the Big 8. Let's see. In the AAC. East Carolina championship.
And then you got Utah, Colorado, which I think the Buffaloes are playing a good season this year after Dion took all that heat last year.
Yeah.
He's got them playing good ball this year. They could very easily win the Big 12
Very easily.
this year. Clemson, Pittsburgh is the next one. Navy plays Tulane. Well, there you go. Okay, so Tulane plays Navy this week
Navy
in Annapolis.
has to,
Yeah, Navy has to win because if
because
Tulane's 8-2, but Tulane is undefeated in the American. So Tulane is 6-0 in the American, and Navy's 5-1. They lost to Rice 2 weeks ago. They beat USF last week. That was that game. The USF game, they looked like they didn't even want to be there. They were so unprepared for that triple option offense that Navy runs, but they were unprepared. That was just my opinion. That's what I wrote in my article, that they just looked unprepared. Very unprepared. LSU is on the road in Gainesville to play the Gators. The line is 3.5 for LSU. The over-under is 55.5. I don't know. I want to for how bad LSU got handled last week by Alabama. Florida's got an outside chance of winning that football game, especially at home in Gainesville.
definitely.
Oregon is on the road in Wisconsin to play the Badgers. I got to while I was on vacation, I watched the Oregon Ohio State game. My brother-in-law's an Ohio State Buckeye fan, and he was not happy with the outcome of that football game. But I know Oregon played a rule or something where you have 12 men on the field and you have a 10-second runoff, and it took 10 seconds off, and then of course the NCAA changed that rule right after the game. They changed the rule to make sure that they it didn't happen again.
It looks like the championship game for the AAC is on December 6th.
When is Army play Navy?
The 14th.
Okay. So then they would play in the championship game if they
play each other again.
Play their normal game that they normally play against each other every year. Where is the Army Navy team at this year? I think they said it was in
I think it's in Philly.
Philly again? Is that where it was at?
I think it's in Philly this year.
Let's see.
I'm not sure. It might be in Annapolis.
Do they ever play on their home field? Either one of them?
Usually Navy gets to play at home and Army plays in Philly.
Oh, right.
Okay. Let's see.
But it might be. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's the home team this year. It might be
Army plays in West Point in New York.
Yeah.
The Navy plays in Annapolis in Maryland.
Correct.
The home team is Navy this year, but
okay.
It says Navy versus Army. So Navy is the home team this year. Where is the game being played? Let's see. I know they've played in Philly. I know they've been talking about Baltimore being. They're playing in Landover. They're playing in. The Commanders play. Northwest
Stadium. DC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that.
They're in Landover. Yep. So, the normal 3:00 kickoff.
On CBS.
Yep. As of right now, ESPN has a 63% chance that Army will beat Navy. As of right now.
Yeah.
So that's what
that sounds about right. Yeah.
The matchup predictor has them. It sure would be cool to see Army beat Notre Dame since Navy lost Notre Dame. That'd be another thing they could kind of stick it to Navy. You lost Notre Dame. We beat them. We beat them.
Yeah. Beat Notre Dame.
Yep.
beat Notre Dame. They need Navy to beat Tulane and then finish out the season. Then they beat Notre Dame and finish out the season, and then they play each other in the ACC championship game, and then they play each other again for nothing, for bragging rights for the Commanders and Chiefs trophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Army have they both beaten Air Force this year? I know Army did.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Navy beat the Air Force. Air Force isn't a good school. It doesn't have. They've been. This has not been a good year for them.
No.
Army beat Air Force 20-3 2 weeks ago, and Navy beat Air Force 34-7. So yes. So at the end of the day,
Yes.
when they play each other,
Comes soon.
Commanders and Chiefs trophy will be handed out to one or the other because
Right.
they're both 1-0 against Air Force.
And then the winner will be 1-2-0.
Yes. The winner then will be 2-0 against the academies. For the academies. So we can go, guys, and jump ahead to the NFL last week.
Right.
The Thursday night game was actually entertaining. The 35-34 win for Baltimore.
For once.
Those two teams always play each other so good, right? Like Cincinnati and Baltimore always play each other so tough.
Especially since they've both gotten pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. They are both good teams. And then if you got up on Sunday morning to watch the Panthers and the Giants in Germany,
I did.
Yeah, I did.
so
I'm sorry.
Again, the game that got me, guys, was the Patriot game because I had Chicago.
Yeah.
I, in my right mind, wouldn't have thought that they would have had a chance in hell to beat Chicago.
Right.
So
okay.
Then you had,
I
was surprised that I'm like, oh, that's a loss. I'm like, I'm happy, and then I'm like, but
right,
yeah. You had Buffalo beat Indianapolis. That's not a surprise. Indy's got a quarterback. Kansas City squeaks out, blocks a 30-yard field goal to beat
34, something like that.
Broncos. The Saints upset the Falcons. That helped the Bucs out a lot, but the Bucs fall to San Francisco. They're 4-6 in the
last-second field goal.
The Steelers beat the Commanders 28-27. Vikings
In a
got
good game.
Jacksonville. The Chargers look pretty good this year so far. All of a sudden, 27-17. I wish that Alex was on here. I could talk about how bad the Eagles beat the Cowboys, but he's not on here to talk about that.
I think he could be there for
that. Cardinals beat the Jets. How about Arizona? They've come out of the blue win football games, dude. They're a pretty good football team. They're nothing to mess with in Arizona. And then the Monday night game, I mean, come on, man. The the Lions were down early. Well, they were down 23-7 at the half and come out and win. That tells you what kind of football team Detroit really is. And remember when we were on here, we had Chuck on earlier this year, and my prediction was Kansas City, Detroit, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah,
I think Detroit is the best team in the NFC, hands down. Hands down.
By far and away.
They're the best team in the NFC, hands down.
And Dan Campbell has learned how to coach.
Yes.
Trust team up. Because that was my biggest knock on him in the NFC Championship game last year. I understand his philosophy of being aggressive and staying after it, and I'm all for that. I get it. I'm not knocking him for playing for coaching how he coached. My problem
Right.
was after the big bomb, where just things happen and players make plays, they come out and have a bad snap, and they can't get on track again. And that was, to me, was the biggest emphasis, was the fact that he just couldn't coach them out of it. And then Sunday night, when they were down 23-7, nothing was going right. They had 3 first-half picks. They never got down on each other. There was no infighting. There was no finger pointing. Everybody just pulled their belt a little bit tighter, reached back and found one. And even though the defense kept them in the game and didn't allow a point in the second half, got a couple takeaways, minimized the damage of the 2 turnovers in the second half, and they were able to go down and make plays when they needed. When other Detroit teams have folded and gone away, down 23-7 and lost, 13-33, because they just can't make a play or two to get back in a game. I mean, Dan Campbell was able to coach his way out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
and then they the week before, when the Bucks played Kansas City and Todd
Mhm.
Bowles didn't go for 2 points, had a chance to win it before it go to overtime. Immediately when I listened to the radio the next day, they said if that was Dan Campbell, he'd have gone for it. He'd have gone for the 2, because that's just the type of coach he is. And
Yeah,
like you said, I think sometimes his style doesn't rub people the right way. But now I think
especially when you lose.
right. I think what's going on now is he's getting his players and his coaching staff to believe in him. And again, you go into the locker room down by, 21
16.
points, or 19 points, or whatever it was, and
16.
you make adjustments and you come out and you go, you know what? They punched us. We're going to punch back. And we punch
Yeah.
back. Houston's not going to respond, and we punch back and we win a game. And we win a game that we probably weren't supposed to win, because, again, we were trailing by so many points at the half. So
And
hands
we
up,
had 5 turnovers.
hands to them, man. They
Mm.
showed right there that they are the best team in the conference, maybe one of the best teams in the NFL. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
the best team, because Kansas City's been kind of sloppy and they haven't played great football. The
Mhm.
Lions, outside of the
Right.
Bucks game, what game can you say that they played bad in? The Tampa game was the only game that they really played bad in, and they lost.
Yes.
But up till that point, they haven't. Every other game, they've either had the lead or have come back. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and even in the Bucks game, the Bucks game has been the only game where they've played where they haven't been able to recover.
right.
And then every other game, they've gotten out to monster leads, so they haven't had to play from behind. Houston was Tampa Bay and Houston are the only games where they really stumbled. And then just in the Tampa Bay game, they can never quite find that thing. And Baker played out of his mind. I mean, gotta give Tampa Bay their flowers on that one.
Yeah.
But through this 7-game winning streak, they've been, even in the Tennessee game, where Tennessee kept it close early into the second quarter. When they got their turnovers, they capitalized. They got touchdowns. They scored points on those drives,
Uh-huh.
and they were able to make plays when they needed to make a play. And when it comes to Dan Campbell and his coaching philosophy, and in his first couple of years, I don't think he thought the game. Very much stick your foot in the ground. We're going to go forward, and we'll see what happens. I think he's matured as a coach, and he doesn't. It isn't all full auto and just mag dumping everybody and spraying and praying and hoping for the best. He's gotten the ability to think the game and he thinks how to coach. And he's gone from just being hyper aggressive all the time, all gas pedal, no brakes, to being where, okay, we can kick a 58-yard field goal, we can make it. We have a kicker that's capable. We can punt the ball away. We can play good defense. And I think early in his coaching career in Detroit, they just didn't have that ability where it behooved them to play hyper aggressive because they were always behind. So it really, we were going to lose anyway. So there's no point in playing conservative. We're going to play as hard as we can for 4 quarters. We're going to go 100% all the time. So that now that they've gotten to the point where they're actually a good football team, they have good football players, they can make good football plays. They can dial it back, and they don't have to be so hyper aggressive. They've got a good kicker, they've got a good punter, they can play good defense. Their special teams can pick them up. They don't have to be.
And they're playing good defense, but without Aiden Hutchinson, which is one of their key defensive players. So, I mean, they haven't skipped a beat. I mean, that's scary to say that they have not skipped a beat. And he, like I said, he was a big chunk of their defense. So
yeah, he was early. He looked like a defensive player of the year candidate. And now they bring in Zacharias Smith or whatever, however you say his first name, I'm not sure, to kind of take up that slack, and now they'll have a true pass rush of Katie bar the doors, because now they can get after you again.
Correct. And I have to say that, everyone gave Jared Goff so much slack when he was in LA, and he really has brought his career back since he became a Detroit Lion. And I think the fans like him. I think in the beginning they were kind of like, he didn't do so well in LA. Jared Goff. Oh, great. Okay. We lost Matt Stafford, who we drafted when he came out of Georgia, and we lost him, and we get Goff. Like, oh, okay. Now I think their minds have completely gone 180, and they have gone to like, the guy's got talent. He's talented. And then when you give him weapons, which every quarterback needs, he turns out to be, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Has been the last few years.
Well,
so,
and the thing about Jared Goff is when, it was all Sean McVay.
Correct.
In LA, like, because Jared Goff he was average. He was no better or worse than anyone else at quarterback position. People gave Sean McVay a lot of credit for what the Rams did, and then he goes, they trade for Stafford, they go and win a Super Bowl, and Jared Goff comes to Detroit, and Detroit goes 10-1, and then they start off the next season 0-7. Or 0-6, and then they finish with 8-9, 9-8. I think it was 8-9, and the crowning achievement of the season is keeping Green Bay out of the playoffs. And then last year, I think last year everybody was able to relax. And I think that's the big thing about Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson and the whole coaching staff is everybody's relaxed. Nobody's pressing. No, you can't win a football game in one play.
Nope.
Yeah.
And they've been able to take that momentum from just everybody relaxed, everybody playing smart, solid, fundamental football, being, assignment football, the old Bill Belichick staple, do your job.
Well, I think when it comes down to it, but if you, whatever level of football you're at, high school, college, pros, if you just tell them, hey, don't worry about the X's zone, just go play football. Like you said, be relaxed. Just go do your job. You're being paid. Just go do your job, and it makes it easy. It makes it easy. Cool. I can go out there and do my job. And like you said,
Do your assignment.
the coaching staff, everyone seems to be buying into Dan Campbell and the way, like you said, I think you hit it the nail on the head.
Yeah.
He's matured as a head coach. He's very much matured as a head coach, which is good because the Lions were, again, struggling. They were in the NFC Championship game last year, right? Where they
Correct.
lost to
Correct.
San Francisco. Yeah, I can't see why they wouldn't be, barring that no one majorly gets injured the rest of the way.
Like
I can't see them not being there again come January.
Yeah. And this team I think is built to withstand devastating injuries. Look at Tampa Bay. If St. Brown went out, they just got another guy. Raymond would step up. If Gibbs goes down, they got Monty. If Elaine McNeil goes out, or the other one whose name is escaping me now. Now they've got Smith. They're built to play deep into the season. They've got depth at every position.
Yeah, it's just the Bucs have got hit hard.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Well, that was my point. Is the Bucs have gotten Evans and Godwin both being out has tanked the season.
Yeah, Godwin's out for the rest of the year. So,
and Evans might be back next week, but it's gonna probably take him a game or two to get that step back.
Yep, get back in game speed.
Just get back into game speed. And if they're 4-6, they could be 4-8 or 5-7, and then they really got to win out to steal a wild card spot. And you look at the way Detroit's built. If they lost JMO for 2 weeks, Hutch has been out since week 3. I mean, and they just continue to batter you.
Is he coming back? But I thought I saw something that he would be back. He could possibly be back before the playoffs. I don't remember what I read when he got hurt.
I read he could be back for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
If they make it that far. And and the thing, if he's ready to go, I don't know how you hold him out.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, if he can somehow come back, let's say, I don't know, ballpark week 15, and play the last 3 weeks of the season or the last 4 weeks of the season, and just to get back to game speed, game speed, and I think that'll help them immensely come the playoffs because you're going to win the NFC North, most likely. So you are going to have a bye. You're going to be, I think, the number 1 seed right now in the NFC. You're going to have a bye. So you're not going to play the first week, and then it's going to have to go through Detroit anyway because you're the number 1 seed. All the games will have to go through Michigan anyway. So
I heard the last update I got, and this was a couple weeks ago, is that he could be back for the Super Bowl if they made it that far. Now I know Owens played in that Super Bowl with coming off a broken leg, but I just don't know. Owens wasn't in the dirt kind of guy, right? He wasn't a slot. He was an outside guy. I mean, you could protect him a little bit more with Hutch being an inside guy, being a 3 technique, being down in the dirt. I don't know if you really, do you let him go or do you hold him out? I mean, if he's healthy and he's available, I don't know how you sit him out. I don't know how you sit down a guy that is just.
The only thing I could think of, but is you limit his snaps, as they say. So if he comes back, you say, okay, Hutch, we're gonna give you 50 snaps or whatever. We're gonna give you.
You might say,
15. Whatever. 50. Yeah, there you 15. Go. 15 snaps. wherever those
And
15 come, and then if that happens, you have to sit or you're limited till whatever. Yeah, I'm
third
sure
down.
you
You're
have
only
some kind of.
you're limited to third down and
There you
long.
go, bud. There you go. There you go. Something
And,
along
and
those lines.
maybe and maybe you trot him out there in series 1, see where he's at, and if he can bring the noise, then you take the chains off and you turn the bulldog loose.
Yeah.
And say you got one series. You get that first series, the first defensive series, and that might, let's say he's good to go in the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. I'd say they win the NFC Championship game, and barring any other catastrophes that might move up or push the Super Bowl back, let's say he's good to go for this, the Super Bowl. He's back in the facility that week. He gets those 2 weeks of practice, and then you can see where he's really at, and decide whether you're going to give him a go or not. And if he's good to go, then you turn him loose.
No, absolutely. You don't hold a player back of his caliber.
No,
you don't.
not
you don't
not
do
if. No, you might limit his snaps. You might say, okay, you're only gonna play 30 snaps this week. We're gonna spot you. We're gonna use you on big downs. He might play first down and third. He might play first down. Try to get him pushed into second long, and then he's off the field for the next 2 downs. He might come in and you might spot him late in the half. Okay, you're gonna go play this. It might be a momentum kind of. And you might not play him the first 3 or 4 series, even. You might want to see, okay, let's see how this game turns out. And if we need you, we got you. But he might, there's so many things you can do. You can play him that first series, see where he's at, see where the game's at. You get up 14, 20 points in the first quarter, and you sit him down the rest of the day because you don't need him. You don't need him going out there and aggravating a broken leg.
Re-aggravate, yeah, exactly. Yep.
And this is we talk about talking about other guys. Two that popped into my mind. Talking about protecting players from themselves, because these guys, they understand. There's no one in the NFL that doesn't understand which side their bread is buttered on. They understand
Right.
that the reason they make what they make to do what they do is because of us.
Yep.
And they want to go out there and they want to play just as much as anybody wants them to play. And it's protecting. Give me your helmet. You're not good to go. Give me your helmet. Sometimes you got to take the keys away from the kid because he's a danger to himself and others. And
Correct.
if I'm not saying that Aiden Hutchinson is a danger to himself or others. I'm just saying that the general attitude of the NFL player is that I'm playing through everything. If they let him, they play on crutches. For Christ's sake,
Yes.
and so you shoot him full of cortisone and just give him a go. I mean, I don't know, because having that potential having the threat on the sideline, if nothing else, it's psychological. If they play KC, let's say our prediction is right, and they do end up playing KC in the Super Bowl. And you have Hutch out there with his eye black on, in his helmet, and sitting on his helmet watching the game. And Kansas City has to prep for it. He might not play a snap. He might not have to play a snap to have an impact.
Just like you said, but just the threat of him being there and in uniform.
Yeah.
If you
cleared up.
It's different when you're in street clothes, but when you are in uniform, it's a whole different ball.
Yeah. And his helmet in hand.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't want him to rush back. If he's not 100% in his mind, and if the doctors clear him, cool. But if he can't clear himself, this is the thing that these guys, and again, it goes back to what I was saying about protecting themselves. If the doctors say he's 85% and he thinks he's 100%, I would rather him sit out, miss the Super Bowl, and just take our, if we lose and the what ifs and than have him play in the Super Bowl and aggravate that leg and be hobbled for the next 8 years of his career, where he's just not that he just can't quite get what he had.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that 85% Hutchinson is a lot better than 100% of a lot of guys, but 100% of Hutchinson is 100% better than everybody.
I was gonna say,
you know,
exactly.
and so I'd rather him. As a Lions fan, as a Michigan guy, I'd rather him sit out and just go with the guys we have, the squad we have, a squad that I think can win a Super Bowl, and see where the chip, push it all in, and as opposed to him going out there and getting hurt again or aggravating that leg and never quite getting to that 100% again, always being 93%, always not being able to getting to that high year ever again. No, and then again, a 93% Aiden Hutchinson is 100% is 93% better than a lot of guys in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But 100% Hutchinson is 100% better than everybody in the league.
Correct.
There's no
doubt.
There's no guy in the league that can 100. I'll take 100% Hutchinson over everybody in the league.
I don't think I'd take that bet, honestly, because I mean, name someone that's a better defensive player at 100% better than him right now.
Nobody. Mason Crosby wasn't better.
Chris Jones, maybe?
Not better.
Maybe
not at 100%. No. I mean,
no. Okay.
Look at how many sacks does Chris Jones have this year?
That's a good question, but I don't know.
I would look it up, but I closed my eyes because it was being stupid.
By the way, the Lightning beat the Jets 4-1.
Yeah, give the Jets their second loss. I'd like to see them win a chip. That'd be cool.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Jets?
Yeah. They don't have one. It'd be nice.
He has 3 sacks so far this year.
3 sacks through 11 weeks. Hutch had 7.5 in the first 3 weeks before he broke his leg. So, and I'm not saying Chris Jones, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Chris Jones is a bad player. I'm just saying that Hutchinson's better.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to thank Duval County, personally, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Enjoy your misery and learn to speak London.
Well, speaking of Duval County, the Florida-Georgia game, which is usually played in Jacksonville, the next 2 seasons will be moved because the Jaguars are getting a new stadium. So they're playing in Atlanta. They're playing in Atlanta next season, and they're playing in Tampa in 2026. So I might be making my first trip to the biggest outdoor cocktail party in 2026, and hopefully Florida's better than they are right now. Georgia's going to be good. Georgia's not going away, so Georgia will be good anyway.
No.
Hopefully the Gators are more competitive than they are now in 2 years. I don't know, though, if Napier is still here after next season.
I don't know.
I don't know how that's going to work. But the reason why I think they kept Napier is because our quarterback, DJ, what's his name? He's coming back this week. They mesh well. And that's why you get rid of that coach. He ends up transferring. So now you keep him, you keep the coach, and you never know what might happen next season. Because, again, the Gators had a absolute gauntlet of a schedule down here. You got Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. Well, not Florida State now, but at the beginning of the season, that was a tough game. But I mean, I can't see anyone really, barring injury, why the Lions can't get to Super Bowl. They're home this week against. You were mentioning Duval County. They're playing the Jaguars at home
Yeah.
this week. Yeah.
Though they took that kid ahead of Aiden. That the Jacksonville picked the other guy, whose name escapes me.
In the draft?
Yeah. In 2023.
Let's see here. 2023 draft for the Jaguars.
Forget they had the number 1 overall pick, and they took the other kid. It wasn't Josh Allen. I forget who it was. Was it Josh Allen? No, I don't think so. I forget who it was.
Here we go. Anton Harrison? 2023?
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right. No, so they drafted Anton Harrison, offensive lineman. That's
It might have been 2022 then.
2022. Hang on a minute, but let me take it back one more year. 2022. Yes, Devin Lloyd, I think is the guy that was. No, I'm sorry. They took Trayvon Walker, the defensive end. Where did he come from?
Yes.
From
I forget where Georgia?
Where did he play? Yes, I think he did play in Georgia. Yeah, I believe he did play. Yeah, I mean he was a Georgia. He was a Georgia.
He was a Bulldog.
Yep. He was a Bulldog. You're right. They took him over Hutch because Hutch was what, the second pick to Detroit. So it was Jacksonville in that draft. That draft class.
I forgot it was 2022. It wasn't last. It was the year before that.
So this is what? This is Hutchinson's third season?
Correct.
Okay.
Let me look and see if there's any. Yes, he had 7.5 sacks.
Through the first 3 weeks or 7 weeks before he got hurt?
Yeah. No. Did he play in that? Through the first 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
He's on IR right now.
So he was averaging almost a sack and a half per game. If you want to get technical.
More. Yeah, just over a sack and a half a game. Or over a sack and a half a game. He had 4.5 against Tampa.
I was gonna say he had a big game against the Bucks. That was one of the, and it was early in that game he got those sacks too because the Bucks couldn't do anything early on. It was the second half that the Bucks adjusted, and then they made their plays when they had to make them, and that's how they won that football game. Technically, right now the Bucks should have 4 more wins than they do because they should have beat Atlanta twice, should have beat San Francisco, should have beat Kansas City. So right now, instead of being 4-6, they should be 8-2 going into the bye week, but they're not. So that's why they play the football game.
If it's and buts for candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Correct.
Right.
The Ravens-Steelers game looks interesting at 1:00 on Sunday.
Yeah.
Of course, Chiefs and Bills, that might be the AFC Championship game again this year.
It could be.
And Monday night is the Battle of Texas, Houston against Dallas. Now, again, the Texans should win that game. But you know that Dallas will make it interesting, even though I know Dak's out for the rest of the year. They'll make that game interesting.
That should have been. That's one of the ones where I feel bad for the scheduler.
Yeah.
Because going into the year, you would have thought that would have been a hell of a game.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Dallas is just depressing.
Yeah. And I think Mike McCarthy is going to lose his job. hands down, I think that's
I
going to
can't
happen at
believe
the
he
end of
kept
the
his job.
season.
I can't believe they didn't fire him after the playoff game last year.
I'm wondering if they bring Belichick in. I know I saw an article today that
I heard he wants to come back.
they had an article today, Bud, that Jerry Jones wants Dion. Dion goes, I don't want to go. I don't want to be a coach in the NFL yet. I'm not going to say that Dion's not going to take that next step. I think he wants to finish what he started at Colorado first.
Yeah,
He's making
I don't
enough
know.
money at Colorado. I mean, why
Well,
would you want to come to the pro level when you can kind of control kids? You know what I
that's
mean?
what Nick Saban said too.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. You hit the nail on the head. That's very true. Very, very
I
true.
mean, if Jerry backs up the Brinks truck, it's hard. It's hard to say no.
Yeah.
I just don't know. At this point, I don't know if Dion would want to come out because I mean, like you said, he's doing great things in Colorado, but but then the other thing is that Mike that the Seminoles job may be open too.
Well, that's true too. That could be where he might, but also too, we'll have to see how Dion does next season because you're going to lose Travis Hunter and you're going to lose
Yeah,
Shador. You're going to lose your son
right,
and you're going to lose Travis to the draft.
right.
So let's see how he is able to
Navigates those waters.
recruit and bring the next generation of Buffalo players to college football. Now, you might be right. They might fight, but then again, FSU would owe Norvell, I think his buyout's like $35 million.
Yeah,
And what
something
it's
like
gonna
that.
take to bring Dion in. Yeah, I mean,
Where
that's
did it?
Dion's alma mater, which obviously I think had Norvell not got not that they had won all those games last year, I honestly think that Dion would have been at FSU this year, hands down. They would have just fired Norvell. He was at the end of his contract anyway, and then bring Dion in because again, it's his alma mater. So
Yeah. Well, me and Alex a couple of weeks ago or last week, I think it was. I don't remember now, but we were talking about that, and I wasn't sure how much his buyout was going to be, but I put it at like 40 million, and then plus another 75 to bring in Dion, and that's only if the Norvell contract buyout is 40, just a flat 40,
yeah,
because it could be 40 million over the next 5 years, and then you're talking about $200 million to buy out Norvell, and then 75, 100 million a year for Dion. So
Yeah.
you're 150 million dollars in the hole, and not only that, but Dion's got to come in, recruit, and rebuild the program
yep,
because the program is in tatters. They're 1-8 for Christ's sake,
1
and they're
nine,
getting waffle stop. Or are they whopping
Yeah.
1-9 now?
they're 1-9.
And so
I don't even know who they play this week. Actually, I didn't even look that up when we were going through college
yeah.
football.
No, because they're not a good team this year, so they didn't make the top 25. Might make the bottom 25, but certainly didn't make the top.
It's true.
Now
Well,
you
guys,
gotta wipe away all those sad FSU tears from your eyes.
you guys want to call it a show, and we'll come back here
Yeah, we can
next
call it right there.
week?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do
Okay.
that.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Luke, go ahead and talk about your show, bud.
Enhanced Sports Show Saturdays 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, of course. This week we'll be discussing part one of the baseball awards. We'll do the Silver Slugger Awards this week. They're just announced. Next week we'll do all the rest. We'll recap the so-called fight between Mike Tyson and Jake from State Farm. I mean Jake Paul. I added to it. I actually think he'd be better. Of course, the NFL college ranks continue on. There was another recap they were going to do. I'll figure that out later. NBA and NHL. Oh yeah, recap the NASCAR season. Yes, because the last race was last weekend. So all you hot rods out there might want to call in. NBA and college football and NFL predictions. Um, NFL review of Week 10. If you got anything specific you want to mention, please do. And of course, all your thoughts and comments this week in sports history, sports trivia, the ridiculous sign of the week, and the feel good story of the week. Remember, the number is 512-5434-662 from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. So I hope to hear from some of you. I know. Good night.
And it won't cost you $40 million to call in.
Yeah. We a couple weeks ago I did the old fashioned way where I downloaded it and then put it on YouTube. We seem to get more views after I downloaded than us going live. Weird how that
Yeah.
is, but it is what it is. But
Same with me. Same with me.
we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna after I get off here tomorrow, I'm gonna download it. I'll put it up tomorrow because I'll be home tomorrow night. Before the fight or while I'm watching the fight, I'll put the show back up on YouTube. But anyway, anybody out there, thank you guys for watching and supporting us. We'll be back next week to do this all over again. This was a lot of fun. Again, this is the OG crowd here, the Fab Three. This evening. Thanks again to our first responders, our men and women of our armed services. Thank you guys so much. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. I am the sports star, Bradley Walker, and next week, guys, I'll go back through all the sponsorships and networks and all that stuff. I just wanted to do a couple of shows where I just get used to this. I like the format better. It seems like this is a better format than StreamYard was. Nothing against it.
It's not.
It seems like this is working better.
This seems a lot more stable.
Do what works better.
Correct.
Do what works better.
Until guys next week, I'm out. Peace.
Got intended.
Okay, I'll get out of here now.